Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the following motion standing in my name. Whereas under Section 1091A of the Value Added Tax Act, Cap 15.42, the Act, it is provided that the Minister of Finance may, by order published in the Gazette, amend the schedules to the Act. And whereas it is further provided that under Section 1092 of the Act, that an order may, pursuant to Section 1091 of the Act, is subject to an affirmative resolution of Parliament, except where the amendment is to customs tariff headings only. And whereas the Minister of Finance seeks approval of the draft value-added tax amendment of Schedules 1 and 3 order to amend Schedules 1 and 3 of the Act by an affirmative resolution of Parliament. A. In the case of Schedule 1, under Item 2.2, to include as a zero-rated service the supply of a service by Hazama Ando Corporation and Nippon Koi Co. Limited, except a supply of a service by a subcontractor with respect to the project for reconstruction of bridges in the cul-de-sac basin. In the case of Schedule 2, to exempt imports of personal items, food, clothing, toys, and other household consumables contained in barrels for the period commencing from the 1st day of November 2021 and terminating on the 31st day of January 2022. 2. To exempt imports of toys, food supplies, and care packages by a member of the House of Assembly for the benefit of children, the vulnerable and needy persons in the constituency of the member of the House of Assembly. For the period commencing from the 15th of November 2021 and terminating on the 31st day of January 2022. 3. To exempt imported goods and services with respect to the project for reconstruction of bridges in the cul-de-sac basin for the period commencing from the 12th day of January 2021 and terminating on the 31st day of December 2022. 4. To exempt the imported vehicles by the MV Logos Hope for the period commencing from the 27th day of July 2021 and terminating on the 31st day of October 2021. Be it resolved that Parliament, by affirmative resolution, approves the draft value-added tax amendment of Schedules 1 and 3 order, which amends Schedules 1 and 3 of the Acts. In the case of Schedule 1, under Item 2.2, to include as a zero-rated service the supply of a service by Hazama Ando Corporation and Nippon Co. Company Limited, except a supply of a service by a subcontractor with respect to the project for reconstruction of bridges in the cul-de-sac basin. B. In the case of Schedule 3, to exempt imports of personal items, food, clothing, toys, and other household consumables contained in barrels for the period commencing from the 1st day of November 2021 and terminating on the 41st day of January 2022. 2. To exempt imports of toys, food, supplies, and care packages by a member of the House of Assembly for the benefit of children, the vulnerable and needy persons in the constituency of the member of the House of Assembly for a period commencing from the 15th day of November 2021 and terminating on the 31st day of January 2022. 3. To exempt imported goods and services with respect to the project for reconstruction of bridges in the cul-de-sac basin for the period commencing from the 12th day of January 2021 and terminating on the 31st day of December 2022. 4. To exempt the imported vehicles by the MV Logos Hope for the period commencing from the 27th day of July 2021 and terminating on the 31st day of October 2021. Mr. Speaker, this resolution is the amendment. This resolution, Mr. Speaker, is to cause the importation of barrels for Christmas from November 1st to 2021 to January 31st, 2022 to be free of VAT. That means what is contained in these barrels is free of VAT except if it's electronics, etc., electronic equipment, etc., Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it also allows parliamentarians, and that's something that was started, I think it was 2 years ago, that parliamentarians who bring in toys and food supplies for their constituents, because during Christmas time, Mr. Speaker, parliamentarians normally seek to make their constituents happy, particularly the underprivileged ones. So if a parliamentarian sources toys and food supplies and care packages from abroad, he can bring it in duty-free. And you may note, Mr. Speaker, that we have made the items a little, the package of items a little smaller, because last year there were lights and decorations, and we thought that these things were not absolutely necessary, so we kept it to what's essential for the people. So elected parliamentarians can bring in these things, and I'm sure with the advent of COVID-19, many parliamentarians will want to support their constituents, especially underprivileged, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for the barrels, we want to make it clear that the waiver of import duty on the personal items and the VAT is for food, clothing, toys, and other household consumables contained in barrels. Electronics are explicitly excluded, Mr. Speaker. Each family is allowed 2 barrels per household, and the upper limit of the value for the barrel is $2,500 EC on the items qualifying for concessions. Mr. Speaker, the qualifying items must be for personal and family use and not for commercial use, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, we hope that what is in the barrels are for personal use and not commercial use, and only toys and food supplies, etc. This is very important, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the other part of that resolution is to ensure that the 2 vehicles, Mr. Speaker, the amendment, 3 vehicles imported by MV Logos Hope, that's the ship, Mr. Speaker, that visits St. Lucia probably twice a year, bringing books, etc. It's not a commercial entity, so we thought that we would help them, Mr. Speaker, in that the vehicles that they brought, they should not pay any VAT or duties on these vehicles, Mr. Speaker. It's called the book ship, Mr. Speaker, and they visited St. Lucia on 2 occasions this year, and it's operated by GBA Ships, and it's a non-profit Christian organization working in over 110 countries around the world. Mr. Speaker, on the occasion of the Logos visits in July and October this year, the government approved the waiver of customs duties on the sale of books, literature, and non-book souvenir items sold on board the ship. This provided an opportunity for St. Lucians to experience international education and cultural exchange facilitated via the Logos book ship. Mr. Speaker, during the second visit of the Logos in October, the ship was docked at Port Vieux-Fort, which allowed for more access for the people of the south of the island. During the period of the ship's stay in St. Lucia, the crew and team members used free vehicles for temporary importation to facilitate their operations on the island, and at the end of the visit, the vehicles were returned to the ship. Mr. Speaker, the measure being requested is the amendment of Schedule 3 of the VAT Act to facilitate the waiver of value-added tax on the temporary importation of vehicles on behalf of the MV Logos Hope, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, the other part of the resolution is to exempt the contractors, the Japanese contractors who are constructing the bridges in cul-de-sac, Mr. Speaker. A Japanese firm built by, it's a grant, Japanese corporation, with the government of St. Lucia to build these bridges, and we thought that it would be necessary, part of the conditions, that they pay no VAT on the items that they import for that construction, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, I thank you.